For 30 years, Johnny Carson ruled late night. He wasn't just a host, he was the heartbeat of American television. Every night the curtain rose, the band played, and the world waited for that unmistakable smirk. Millions watched him, yet very few truly knew him. Behind the crisp monologues and the quick wit was a man who measured people by their timing, their humility, and the way they treated those who didn't stand in the spotlight. Guests came and went. Movie stars, politicians, musicians, comedians. Some were funny, some were famous, but only a handful touched something deeper in him. A quiet admiration. He rarely spoke aloud. They were the ones who made him laugh when he didn't want to, who reminded him why the job mattered, and who left the studio warmer than they found it. They weren't chosen for ratings or scandal. They were chosen for truth, for heart, for the kind of magic that can't be scripted. Together, they defined what Johnny valued most: laughter built on respect, timing sharpened by kindness, and the rare moment when live television stopped feeling like work and started feeling alive. These were the 10 guests who made Johnny Carson forget the cameras and remember why he fell in love with the stage in the first place. Number 1, Lucille Ball. She was the storm Johnny Carson secretly loved. When Lucille Ball walked onto the Tonight Show stage, the atmosphere changed. The audience sat taller, the band snapped to attention, and Johnny's careful composure softened into pure delight. Lucy didn't follow the rhythm of late night, she rewrote it. Her laughter was wild and contagious, her timing so precise it felt reckless. Every time she appeared, the script vanished, and the show became a dance no one could choreograph. Carson admired control, but with Lucy, he loved losing it. She'd turn a simple question into chaos that somehow made perfect sense. One moment she was sharing a story, the next she was pantomiming a fall that had the camera crew struggling to keep the frame steady. Johnny didn't try to steer her, he let her drive. Watching her was like watching lightning, unpredictable, magnetic, and impossible to fake. Off camera, she was just as extraordinary. Lucy remembered names, thanked the lighting crew, signed napkins for interns, and told nervous assistants they could do anything if they believed in the laugh. Carson noticed. He respected grace behind the glamour, humility behind fame. She had both. When the applause finally rolled through Studio One, Johnny didn't rush to his next card. He leaned back, smiled, and let the sound wash over him. Lucille Ball reminded him why live television mattered. Because moments like that couldn't be planned, they had to be lived. She wasn't simply a guest, she was proof that chaos, when it comes from the heart, can be beautiful. For Johnny Carson, she wasn't just comedy royalty, she was his queen. Number 2, Sammy Davis Jr. When Sammy Davis Jr. walked onto Johnny Carson's stage, electricity followed him. Before he even spoke, the audience was already clapping in rhythm. He didn't just perform, he transformed the room. His grin, his energy, his effortless command turned The Tonight Show into something closer to a celebration than a taping. Johnny leaned back, smiling like a fan instead of a host. He knew what was coming, a masterclass in charisma. Sammy's timing was untouchable. He could shift from music to mimicry to punchline without missing a beat. One minute he was crooning smooth and low. The next he was growling like Bogart or riffing in Sinatra's cadence. The audience roared, and Johnny laughed until his cue card slipped. But what truly impressed Carson wasn't the polish, it was the joy. Sammy carried joy like a current, lighting every face in the studio. Behind the scenes he was no different. He greeted everyone by name, joked with the camera operators, taught the stagehands dance steps, and lifted every mood he touched. No ego, no entourage, just warmth. Carson, who valued humility above flash, recognized it instantly. Sammy's generosity of spirit reminded him of why entertainment mattered: to make people feel seen. Every time Sammy appeared, Johnny's show felt bigger, brighter, more alive. He brought rhythm to late night, movement to monologue, life to the format itself. Carson once said Sammy could light up Burbank without a plug. Watching him proved it true. When the segment ended, and the applause rolled over the stage, Johnny wasn't thinking about ratings or jokes. He was thinking about energy, pure, contagious energy, and how rare it was to find. Sammy Davis Jr. didn't just visit The Tonight Show. He made it dance. Number 3, Betty White. She didn't walk onto Johnny Carson's stage to impress anyone. She walked on like she belonged there. The crowd loved her before she spoke, and Johnny, who measured every guest by their wit and poise, sat up straighter. Betty White's timing was flawless, her humor sharp, and her delivery disarmingly gentle. She could tease Johnny, poke fun at the boys' club around her, and still make the entire room adore her. From the first exchange, they were equals. Johnny would set up a line, expecting to steer the rhythm, but Betty always met him halfway and then lifted it higher. Her jokes weren't loud, they were precise. Every pause, every glance, every smile worked like a beat in music. Johnny appreciated that balance, humor with warmth, bite without cruelty. He trusted her completely, and that trust made their conversations feel alive. When the cameras stopped, Betty's kindness deepened the impression she left. She thanked the crew, asked how their day was going, and remembered the smallest details, names, birthdays, even pets. Carson, who valued humility more than fame, never forgot that. She didn't act like a star. She acted like someone grateful to be part of something. With Betty, The Tonight Show felt lighter, kinder, and more human. She gave Johnny space to take risks, to joke without fear, to let his own warmth show. Every laugh she drew came from honesty, never calculation. When the applause faded, Johnny's smile lingered. Betty White didn't just make the audience laugh, she made them feel at home. And for a host who spent decades managing chaos behind the desk, that feeling meant everything. She was proof that late night could still have heart, and Johnny Carson loved her for it. Number 4. Dean Martin. Dean Martin didn't enter a room. He drifted into it, smooth and unhurried, as if the show were happening on his time. Johnny Carson, known for precision and order, knew what that meant. The format was about to vanish. Dean loosened his tie, flashed that easy grin, and instantly owned the space. Every word sounded improvised, every pause intentional. He'd interrupt Johnny mid-sentence, toss a playful jab at Ed McMahon, and somehow make the chaos look effortless. Johnny adored that freedom. He lived by structure, but Dean reminded him that laughter wasn't built, it was found. Their chemistry felt like two old friends trading barroom stories. Dean didn't worry about punchlines. He trusted charm to carry the moment. A missed cue turned into a laugh. A stumble became a bit. His secret wasn't carelessness, it was confidence. He didn't fear silence or mistakes, because he knew the audience loved him no matter what. Backstage, Dean's energy stayed the same. He joked with the band, toasted imaginary glasses with the crew, and called everyone pal. Johnny admired that generosity. Dean never acted superior, even when he was the biggest star in the room. His humor was relaxed, his warmth genuine, and it made everyone around him loosen up too. When the cameras rolled again, Johnny found himself smiling wider, speaking freer. Dean didn't just entertain, he changed the temperature of the room. For a few minutes, The Tonight Show stopped feeling like a production and started feeling like a party. When Dean finally stood to leave, Johnny exhaled with a grin that said more than words could. Dean Martin gave him what every host secretly craved, unrehearsed joy. He made the show feel alive, unpredictable, and for once, easy. Number 5. Bob Hope. When Bob Hope sat down beside Johnny Carson, the air changed from talk show to sparring match. Johnny didn't prepare scripts for Hope. He prepared openings. Hope's punchlines came fast, sharp, and precise, like arrows that always found their mark. His rhythm was unmatched, set up, tilt of the head, perfect pause, and then a line that hit clean. Carson loved that kind of craft. There was no waste, no drift, no filler, just pure timing honed over a lifetime on stage. Their exchanges felt like sport. Johnny would toss an easy question, and Hope would turn it into 3 jokes before answering. Politics, golf, Hollywood. It didn't matter. Each subject became a playground. What Carson admired wasn't just the humor but the respect underneath it. Hope's teasing never cut. His jokes carried warmth, never cruelty. He could roast anyone, even Johnny himself, and leave everyone smiling. Off camera, Hope's discipline impressed him even more. He arrived early, greeted the staff, swapped golf stories, and thanked every crew member by name. To Johnny, that courtesy mattered as much as the performance. It showed professionalism, a trait he valued above fame. Their chemistry came from mutual understanding. 2 craftsmen who lived for precision. Hope didn't chase attention, and Johnny didn't try to top him. They built laughs together, trusting each other's rhythm like old musicians sharing a melody. When the applause rolled, Carson didn't rush to commercial. He'd glance at Hope with quiet admiration, the kind of look one master gives another. Bob Hope reminded him that great comedy wasn't about shock or noise. It was about skill, patience, and respect for the audience. When Hope left the stage, Johnny leaned back, cards forgotten, smiling at the simplicity of it all. The art of the perfect laugh. Hope never missed. Number 6. Don Rickles. Don Rickles didn't walk into Johnny Carson's world quietly. He burst in like a firecracker. No script could contain him, and Johnny knew it. The moment Rickles sat down, the audience braced themselves. He'd insult Johnny, Ed McMahon, the band, and half the audience within seconds, and yet the laughter only grew. His timing was lethal, his delivery instinctive, and beneath every jab was warmth. Carson adored that balance. Rickles could tear a person apart and somehow make them love him for it. Johnny admired confidence, and Rickles had it in spades. He wasn't searching for approval. He owned the room through sheer audacity. Even when his jokes crossed lines others wouldn't dare touch, the intention never felt mean. It was play, dangerous, brilliant play. Carson, who spent his career controlling chaos, let go completely when Rickles appeared. Their banter became legend, the straight man and the wild card, feeding off each other's energy. Offstage, Rickles was the opposite of his on-air persona. He remembered birthdays, sent thank you notes, and treated the crew like family. He made the staff laugh long after the cameras stopped rolling. Johnny valued loyalty more than fame, and Rickles had both. Behind the sharp tongue was a man who cared deeply about the people who made television work. Each appearance left Carson exhausted from laughter, but grateful. Rickles reminded him that comedy's edge wasn't cruelty, it was truth, delivered with courage. In a world full of polished performances, Rickles stayed raw and real. When the lights dimmed and the crowd roared, Johnny didn't see a provocateur. He saw a craftsman who turned chaos into connection. Don Rickles never just did a segment. He set the room on fire. And Johnny loved watching it burn. Number 7. Jackie Gleason. Jackie Gleason didn't need an introduction. The audience knew. The moment he appeared, the studio filled with reverence. Johnny Carson, who rarely gave away awe, straightened in his chair. For him, Gleason wasn't just a guest. He was a blueprint. Long before Johnny became the king of late night, Gleason had defined what showmanship meant. Confidence, timing, and soul. He could move from comedy to tenderness in a single breath, and Johnny watched it happen as if studying a master class. Gleason's presence was commanding, but never forced. He told stories with weight, pacing every word like a symphony. Johnny let him lead. He didn't interrupt or redirect. He listened. Because when Gleason spoke, the studio felt transported to an earlier time, when humor came from truth, and timing ruled over spectacle. Gleason's laughter rolled deep, his pauses deliberate, his delivery effortless. He understood rhythm better than most musicians. Off camera, his warmth was just as real. He asked about the crew, remembered technicians by name, and carried himself with the grace of a man who knew the cost of fame, but still found joy in it. Johnny, who valued humility, hidden beneath greatness, saw himself in that. There was something old world about Gleason that Carson never forgot. The polish of vaudeville, mixed with the heart of television's first generation. Watching him was like looking at a mirror into what entertainment once stood for: generosity, presence, and respect for the crowd. When the band played him off, Johnny clapped the loudest. He wasn't hosting that night. He was paying tribute. Jackie Gleason reminded him that the greatest performers didn't chase laughter. They earned it, one perfectly timed heartbeat at a time. Number 8. Steve Martin. Steve Martin brought a different kind of energy to Johnny Carson's stage. Where others followed tradition, he broke it with a grin. His comedy was odd, clever, and completely unpredictable. The arrow through the head, the banjo, the deliberate awkwardness, everything about him felt new. Johnny, who had seen every act imaginable, leaned forward with genuine curiosity. Steve didn't chase approval. He built comedy that made people think while they laughed. Carson respected that. It took discipline to make chaos look that effortless. Each visit felt like a reset for late night. Steve's humor wasn't about punchlines. It was about ideas. He'd build tension, twist it, and release it in a way no one saw coming. Johnny's laughter in those moments wasn't polite. It was real. He appreciated Steve's willingness to experiment, to risk silence in pursuit of originality. It reminded him of his own early years, testing the limits of what an audience could handle. Behind the scenes, Steve was quiet, focused, and kind. No entourage, no demands. He thanked the crew, discussed timing with the band, and left the set cleaner than he found it. That humility impressed Johnny. Talent was common in show business. Humility wasn't. Martin represented a bridge between generations, the sharp intelligence of the new wave and the respect for craft that defined the old. Johnny saw in him the future of comedy, grounded in the same precision and honesty that built the golden age. When the segment ended, and the crowd wouldn't stop clapping, Johnny didn't try to top it. He just smiled, knowing he'd witnessed something authentic. Steve Martin made the audience laugh differently, smarter, freer, sharper. For Johnny, that meant everything. He wasn't just funny. He was proof that comedy could still evolve without losing its soul. Number 9. Carol Burnett. Carol Burnett carried warmth that no camera could fully capture. The moment she walked onto the Tonight Show stage, the tension in the room dissolved. Johnny Carson, who measured guests by their rhythm and presence, relaxed instantly. Carol wasn't there to perform, she was there to connect. Her voice, her laugh, even the way she listened made every moment feel real. Johnny admired that authenticity. She didn't chase the laugh, she earned it through truth. Their conversations felt like two professionals sharing a secret language. Johnny would lead with a sly setup, and Carol would spin it into something human and funny at once. She had a gift for blending humor with heart, a look, a pause, a line that made the audience laugh and sigh in the same breath. Johnny cherished that. He didn't need to steer her, he just needed to keep up. Off camera, she treated everyone with the same grace. She asked about families, thanked technicians, and stayed long after taping to say goodbye. Johnny noticed those gestures. They revealed who she really was. No ego, no distance, just kindness wrapped in impeccable timing. Carol reminded him of what comedy was supposed to feel like: connection before applause. When she talked about her show, she spoke about teamwork, never fame. When she joked, it came from empathy, not edge. Johnny found comfort in that. When the applause thundered, Carson didn't rush to close. He looked at her with quiet admiration, the kind you only give to someone who gets it. Carol Burnett didn't just make the audience laugh. She reminded Johnny that laughter meant nothing without heart. She wasn't just a comedian, she was compassion in motion. And for Johnny Carson, that was the rarest gift of all. Number 10. George Burns. George Burns didn't need to prove anything when he walked onto the Tonight Show stage. His presence alone carried history. Cigar in hand, voice steady, eyes glinting behind his glasses, he moved at his own tempo. The audience leaned in, and Johnny Carson followed suit. Burns never fought for attention, he earned it through calm authority. Every line landed with purpose. Every pause mattered. He didn't chase the laugh, he waited for it, and it always came. Johnny admired that kind of mastery. Burns didn't perform to fill silence. He used silence as part of the performance. A glance, a smirk, a single well-placed word could send the room into laughter. Carson, who built his career on rhythm and restraint, saw in Burns the purest version of what comedy could be: elegance, timing, and truth. Off camera, Burns carried himself with old-world courtesy. He greeted everyone from the doorman to the stage manager with the same respect. He arrived early, joked with the crew, and left each taping like he was leaving a friend's living room. Johnny valued that humility deeply. Burns didn't act like a legend. He acted like a craftsman who still loved the work. Watching him, Carson understood something essential. Great comedy wasn't about volume or flash. It was about honesty delivered with grace. Burns embodied that principle every time he spoke. When the band played him out, Johnny didn't shuffle his cards or glance at the clock. He smiled quietly, knowing he'd just shared space with the kind of performer television was built on. George Burns didn't just make people laugh, he reminded them how to listen. For Johnny Carson, that calm precision wasn't nostalgia, it was the gold standard. The class, the timing, the ease, the way a true gentleman leaves a room warmer than he found it. Conclusion. When the lights dimmed and the laughter faded, Johnny Carson didn't measure a night by ratings or applause. He measured it by feeling. If the studio felt warmer when the guest left, he knew it mattered. These 10 legends, Lucille Ball, Sammy Davis Jr., Betty White, Dean Martin, Bob Hope, Don Rickles, Jackie Gleason, Steve Martin, Carol Burnett, and George Burns gave him that feeling every time. They were different in style, but identical in spirit. Each carried something Johnny valued most: honesty. Lucy brought fearless chaos. Sammy carried joy like a torch. Betty gave warmth wrapped in wit. Dean made imperfection look effortless. Hope reminded everyone that craft still counted. Rickles turned danger into affection. Gleason showed what greatness looked like with humility. Steve reinvented comedy with precision. Carol blended laughter with heart. And Burns closed the circle, proving that grace never goes out of style. Johnny wasn't drawn to fame or noise. He admired people who respected the work, the crew, the timing, and the truth. Watching them, he felt the same spark that first drew him to the stage, a belief that laughter, when it comes from kindness, could hold the world together for a moment. When the show ended, Johnny often sat in the quiet. The cards were stacked, the cameras off, but the echo of laughter still lingered. He'd think about the people who made him better without trying to. They reminded him that television at its best wasn't about spotlight or ego, it was about connection. These 10 guests didn't just make Johnny Carson laugh, they made him proud. And through them, the golden age of television still glows. Proof that great comedy, grounded in respect and heart, never fades. For more emotional stories, check out this video.